Monster Hunter Wilds is a game filled with thrilling hunts, breathtaking landscapes, and some of the most impressive monster designs in the series. But beneath all that excitement, there's a game struggling to define itself. It's fun, it's ambitious, but it's also frustrating in ways that might surprise you. Whether you're a longtime fan or jumping in for the first time, Wilds delivers unforgettable moments, but not without its share of missteps. So, let's dive into what works, what doesn't, and whether the latest entry truly lives up to its potential. From the moment you step into the world of Monster Hunter Wilds, it's clear that the game is trying to push the franchise forward. The environments are bigger, the monsters are more dynamic, and the action feels more intense than ever. But with every step forward, there are moments where it feels like the game hesitates, unsure of how far it wants to go. And that's where things get a little complicated. One of the biggest talking points is the open world aspect, or rather the lack of it. While marketed as an open world experience, in practice, it doesn't truly feel open. Most of the time I was playing the game, I didn't really go out and stick around in certain locales to just fight other monsters that were around. I would simply do what I've always done in Monster Hunter. I would go to the quest board. In this case, it's your handler, and you go to her, or you can also do this in your camp, in the sort of main hub camp, or hub camps that are in all of the different locales. And you kind of set up quests like you always have in previous Monster Hunter games. And I remember the devs talking about how they wanted to encourage players to just go out, very similar to a system called the Guiding Lands or Grinding Lands back in Monster Hunter World / Iceborne. But instead of it feeling like a seamless world, it really ends up feeling like just a modified version, or even I'd say an expanded version of that to some degree. I feel like it would have been great if they actually had NPCs that were actually out in the wild offering quests on location, or maybe they're fighting a monster, or perhaps a monster is causing trouble to some of the humans or other subspecies that are in the actual locales, which could have made the open world elements feel more organic, in my opinion. Instead, it seems like the game couldn't fully commit to that idea, leading to an experience that, in my opinion, doesn't quite know what it wants to be. But let's step away from the open world talk for just a second, because I want to talk about the monsters, because in my opinion, this is Monster Hunter. It truly is about the monsters. The new monsters introduced in Wilds, in my opinion, are fantastic, with standouts like New Udra, Jindahad. They bring fresh dynamic fights to the table. Then you have Arkveld and Raydao, who, in my opinion, are amongst some of the best in the series. They offer both challenging and visually impressive encounters. The attention to detail in their animations, attack patterns, and the behaviors that they do makes each hunt feel honestly like an event. When the game is at its best, the thrill of the hunt is honestly as satisfying as it's ever been. The combat mechanics also have seen some great improvements. The focus system allows players to target specific weak points on monsters, making it easier to land precise hits. So when a monster gets wounded, if you are attacking them in a specific area for a pretty long time, a red spot appears, and if you aim with your focus attack at these specific areas, basically get like this custom animation where you briefly stun them or even knock them down completely, creating openings for some pretty crazy damage. This makes battles more tactical and rewarding. However, some veteran players have noted that this system also makes the fights noticeably easier, which may not sit well with those who probably prefer the traditional challenge of the series. Beyond the combat though, the game offers plenty of side activities like fishing and material gathering, which frankly has always been a part of Monster Hunter. Side quests have also been introduced as well. Perhaps it was introduced in a previous series, but in my opinion, they kind of feel unnecessary at times. At times, it's more of like an extra step that could have just been incorporated into regular quests, and the side quests are really you fighting the monsters. It wasn't really a big deal. Maybe I shouldn't say that they were unnecessary, but at times were just a little bit tedious. They do offer really good rewards, so perhaps that it is worth it. It's not a total miss. Still, there's a feeling that some of these elements could have been a little bit more streamlined. One area where the game struggles though, and I think everyone will agree, is the performance. So I've been playing Monster Hunter Wilds on PC, and I've already put almost 80 hours into the game, and I have a pretty damn good PC. I run a pretty good CPU, I run a 4080. I mean, even on high-end PCs, the game has significant graphical bugs, frame rate drops, and pretty bad stability issues. There are moments when the environments look absolutely breathtaking. I mean, some of the best visuals on RE Engine for sure, but then there's a sudden storm or a certain area, it tanks the performance. And to be honest with you, there were some days where it would be pretty frustrating to navigate. Sometimes it would lead to a crash. It was just a slew of issues. And it's not just the visuals. Sometimes I'll be playing or going on a hunt and there's a connection issue, and that's been a reoccurring problem. Playing with friends can be a hit or miss experience because of that, due to the crashes or being randomly kicked from quest. These issues make it clear that the game could have kept it in the oven for a little bit more before launching the game. The menus also deserve a mention here because, frankly, they're overwhelming. Now, listen, you might be hearing, well, Chris, Monster Hunter menus have always been kind of overwhelming. There's too many options and too many sub-menus that navigating them feels like an unnecessary challenge. If you're new to the series or even just jumping in after a break, it could take a while to get familiar with everything. A more intuitive menu system, in my opinion, would have gone a long way in improving the overall experience. I mean, in comparison to, say, Monster Hunter World or even Monster Hunter Rise, like those menus were pretty overwhelming as well, but simple at the same time. The menus in this game, I was trying to look for specific items to put on my radio menu and just even trying to get people connected sometimes or trying to get set up. It takes some getting used to, and I definitely had the patience to do it. However, at times I was just like, I don't know where to look for things, and the game doesn't always really put it in front of you. This is how you get to this thing from the menus. Despite these issues though, the core Monster Hunter experience remains honestly as addicting as ever. The loop of taking on hunts, gathering materials, crafting better gear, and preparing for even tougher fights is still incredibly satisfying. The game has a solid foundation. Here's the thing though, instead of it taking a massive leap forward from, say, Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter Wilds feels like it's taking more of a cautious step. Like, it's offering some improvements while also introducing new frustrations at the same time. One standout aspect, though, that absolutely deserves a praise is the music. The soundtrack in Wilds is phenomenal, adding so much atmosphere to each encounter. I mean, Ray Dow's theme is incredible. So whether it's tension of a major battle or the calm moments in between, the music really enhances the experience in all the right ways. And I gotta be honest with you guys, when the game looks and sounds at its best, it's truly a sight to behold, just as long as the performance issues don't get in the way. Oh, and I don't want to forget about the story, because I know a lot of people are like, well, what about the story? Are you going to talk about the story? I really appreciated that the game really shed more light on the characters, and the characters felt like they had a bit more to them than, say, some of the characters in Monster Hunter World. So much so that our own hunter, our own character, talks now, which, in my opinion, or not even my opinion, but just from what I've noticed in previous Monster Hunter games, that didn't exist before. So it was really refreshing to actually hear our hunter talk. It was also pretty jarring hearing our Palico talk to us. I pretty much kept him from not talking to me like a human. He sounded like a feline, and that's all I wanted from my cat. Sorry, Salem. But I thought that the story was really, really good. I don't think it was like the most endearing, or, you know, it's a story that's gonna make me cry per se, but, and to be honest with you, there was a few moments that were kind of slow, and there was some really epic moments, and I think the story really starts to find its groove as it starts getting closer to the end of the Monster Hunter story in low rank. And in my opinion, that last battle against that last monster was absolutely incredible. And then once you're done with low rank and you get to high rank, again, that's where the game starts to really pick up, and that's where sort of that addictive quality that I was mentioning earlier really, really starts to kick in. Just outside of the monsters and the music, that's really where the game shines. Look, at the end of the day, Monster Hunter Wilds, it's a solid 8 out of 10. It has plenty of potential to grow with future updates and additional content, and hopefully the developers will address some of these issues, if not all of them, over time. For now, it's a game that delivers some really cool moments, but also leaves a lot of room for improvement. If you're a longtime fan of the series, there's a lot to enjoy here, but if you are new to the series, just be prepared for a few bumps along the way. Now that I've given my piece, I want to hear from you. What did you think about Monster Hunter Wilds? Is this game everything that you hoped for, or is there something that's just not clicking with you? Let me know in the comments below, and let's have a conversation about it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, my name is Chris Sages, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.